As I reflect on those experiences and memories, I'm reminded of a man who is respected for his integrity, his exuberant work ethic, his ability to motivate students, and to inspire and teach by action and not just by words. All of these things describe a man who many called Mr. Stevens, but I was fortunate enough to call my father. Now, as a former student and product of the FFA program, I'm deeply grateful for the impact Dad had on my life. I could go on sharing countless numbers of adjectives that describe him, or the state and national awards that he accumulated over his time as a teacher. But for me, I think the greatest tribute is to reflect on what I heard so many times from others about Mr. Stevens. So tonight, I've chosen to share a brief thank you letter on behalf of the thousands of students whom I believe may not have had the chance to share their appreciation. It goes something like this. Dear Mr. Stevens, wow, it has been so long since we were preparing for that first speech contest, since we were learning how to weld, since we were at that early morning jackpot show trimming on my first year, or since we went to that first interscholastic contest. Thank you for that day. Some of us are businessmen now. Some of us are teachers. Some of us are lawyers and doctors, and some of us are preachers. We all share a common bond in that you left an impression on us. You helped create and mold us into successful men and women with solid character. Thank you for living a life by example of hard work, motivation, and a can-do attitude. I didn't think I could win that speech contest. I didn't think I could win that show, and I didn't think I could get that scholarship. But you always knew I could do it, and you showed me how to. So thank you for that day. Thank you for the time, for your love, and most importantly, thank you for helping me learn how to achieve my very best when I didn't think I could. Respectfully, your lasting legacy of FFA students. Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the Career Tech, my family thanks you for this day. It is with great honor and pride that I nominate Mr. Stevens, my dad, to the Career Tech Hall of Fame. I would now like to ask my brother Chris to come forward to accept this special honor and remembrance.
It's indeed a privilege to accept this award tonight on behalf of my dad. I'm particularly grateful for family and friends who have joined us this evening from Newcastle, from Phoenix, from Chickasha, Guthrie, Woodward, Stillwater, and all places in between. We thank you. And to the other inductees, it's a real honor to be recognized this evening with you. I'm confident Dad would be overwhelmed tonight with his induction into our state's Career Tech Hall of Fame. He always viewed himself and his role in this world very modestly, as a husband, a father, a local ag ed teacher, an FFA advisor, and a part-time cattleman. Dad genuinely believed in the Career Tech system and the power of a program like FFA to fundamentally change the way a high school student views himself. Dad really thought every student walking into his classroom could find a way to excel in the FFA, and he had a knack for matching a student's interests with just the right contest or award application. He was a man of relatively few words, but those who knew him knew not to confuse his generally quiet spirit with the lack of any fire in the belly. He was intensely competitive, and he took great satisfaction in seeing his students succeed. He expected the very best from us as students and sons, and he pushed us hard to do our best. Dad really considered himself fortunate to teach ag education for 36 years, to work so closely and for so long with some of the very best students from Chickasha and Guthrie, to get to know their families and to be invited into these students' lives at such formative times. Last year at Dad's funeral, our family was blown away by the dozens of former FFA students and families who came to celebrate his life. Dad took his job as an educator and an FFA advisor very seriously, and he and Mom poured much of themselves into the job to make sure every student, whether it was Dad's first year or 31st year of teaching, had the same opportunities to succeed in the ag education program. This meant a lot of weekends and late nights for all of us, as Shane and I grew up and tagged along to livestock shows, FFA conventions, and all types of ag events. Growing up, FFA was simply a family affair. Dad was also the hardest working person I've ever known, but the redeeming part of his long days was that he spent so much of that time with Mom, his 26-year teaching partner, his confidant, and his best friend. For those who know my parents, you probably don't have many stories that involve only Mike or only Shirley. Your memories likely include both of them. You couldn't find one without the other, and they made a pretty good team. Dad's life was too short, but I know that he would want us to view his life not by its length, but by its fullness. He, after all, did a job he loved for an FFA organization that he cherished, to help students for more than 3 decades to challenge themselves and to learn valuable life skills. He worked next door to his best friend. He raised 2 sons who are very proud of him. Mike Stevens, or Mr. Stevens, or Dad, was a devoted husband and father, and a mentor and friend to hundreds of FFA students, their families, other FFA advisors, and state career tech staff. His legacy lives on through us. Again, on behalf of our family, we thank you for Dad's induction into the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.